Once again, for those who are watching this replay, I am Jason Stone, and I get the opportunity to sit down with Logos users and explore how they use the software themselves. And I'm really excited. I just had a conversation with Gideon here as we got started, and this is going to be a bit more of a coaching session than a how does Gideon use the software session. But I'm not scared at all. I think that we're going to have a lot of fun. And as before we get into the software, before I share my screen and then demonstrate a few items, I would love for my brother Gideon to share a bit of what he's up to, where in the world he is, because I didn't even know this when we started the call. He's in Africa, and so I am just like, my mind is blown at what the internet can do and how it can connect us right now. So, Pastor Gideon, why don't you share a bit about your context? Share with us your background and then what you're doing right now, if you could.
Sure. My name is Gideon Manda, a graduate of Master's Seminary in California, San Valley. I'm in Mzuzu, Malawi. If you're looking at Malawi, it's got a map almost the shape of Israel. We have a beautiful lake there, and I'm involved in a church plant. Our church is 3 years old now, so my work involves preaching. By the way, I'm a married man with 3 kids. The firstborn is a father, so I'm a grandfather, expecting a second-born. So, yeah, my daughter getting married this year, and my other son is in college studying animal science. And so every week I have a minimum of, I should say, I preach and teach 6 times in 7 days. So Monday, I have a devotion that I do Wednesday and Fridays. On Friday, I also have a Bible study with the church at my house. And on Sunday, I preach. In every month, I preach 3 times. The fourth week, I take a rest. One of the elders help with me. And so you can already see that my work involves preaching. But I also do a lot of counseling. And my approach to counseling is biblical counseling. So I have to be well versed with scriptures. I had the privilege to do some theological training in South Africa and Malawi, but also in US. I did a doctorate in doctoral ministry, and I thank God for that. There are rare opportunities for people from this part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I got in touch with Logos, and where I was before church plant, I was lecturing in a seminary, and they gave me a free software, no tutorials, no training. And I know there's treasure here, but I don't have tools and know how to dig the treasures.
Mm-hmm.
When Jason sent me an email from the Blues, I was just saying, "Is this true?" But I think today I proved that it's true. And so I'm looking forward really to two objectives. Number one, to learn the word. Number two is to learn how the tool works, the software of Logos. And I hope Jason will help me. Yeah.
Well, I'll try to help out. You're right that there's a treasure in this tool, and like there's so much that can be done with it, and I do think that it can be overwhelming. And so these interviews that I get to do with Logos users, it's mostly about removing the fear or removing how building confidence really in the tool, and then
Sure.
being able to just explore it. And so when I get to sit down with users and see how they use it, it's a big confidence boost. And so I hope that this will, if nothing else, it'll lose the intimidation that you may have and others may have when they open Logos. And so um, I heard a few things. You're juggling a lot of different prep time. So you're preparing for sermons, preparing for devotionals, you're preparing for counseling sessions. You're doing a lot of this prep time. And if someone is not using Logos, they're probably opening this book, opening this notebook, keeping notes all over the place, and they're
I,
trying to
I
get
wish,
from place to place.
sorry for interrupting. I wish I would show you my desk how it looks. It's exactly what you described there.
No way. So yeah, that is one thing that comes to mind is like having your workplace prepared quickly and easily and being able to close it as well so that you can actually rest when you're done with it. So that's one thing. And then you had mentioned counseling and devotions and regular preaching. And so a few things that come to mind, I'd really like to walk through the guides and layouts sections, guides, workflows, and then layouts. And so those are a couple that I want to mention while we walk through this together. But before we started, you also mentioned that you do exegetical work and you would like to go a little bit deeper in Greek and Hebrew to understand what may be happening behind the English text. And so we'll explore what quick ways to get into the meaning behind the English text as well. So if you are watching and you're like, I've got a pretty good handle on layouts, workflows, guides, and jumping into the exegetical background of text, then by all means, there's a lot of other interviews that you could check out. But I hope you stick around. I think you'll learn something. I always learn something, whether I'm teaching or whether I'm learning. I feel like I learn something new every time. So that's kind of what I call the mile markers or the goalposts that we'll be shooting for on this interview. And Gideon, I'm giving you full permission. If I click too fast, if I move from one place to the next, if you have a question or idea, like interrupt me, please. Let's just have a little bit of fun for 15 or 20 minutes and explore logos together, okay?
All right. I'll open my pad in something to note.
All right. All right. So
Okay.
I'm going to share my screen this time. Did you have any questions at the start here, Gideon?
No.
All right.
All is good.
So, it sure is. So I'm going to start with sharing my screen. And I can't see you at the moment, so just go ahead and speak up if you have a question. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger.
Sure.
And to do so, I went into the settings here, and I'm going to click on program scaling. So I'm going to see if I can get this to something that's a little bit easier to see. Let's do 120 for right now.
Okay.
You did say...
Is that 120?
This is 120% scaling here.
If you can have a little bit and go up a bit.
Yeah, I can do that. I can do 140.
Yes.
Awesome.
Okay.
So you, before our call, you said, just treat me like I'm a beginner. So pretty novice overview. But we'll slowly dip into some more advanced things, but we won't go too fast. So I'm not sure if you have your bar across the top or along the left side, but you can actually move.
It's on. You mean the bar is on top?
Okay, cool. So yours will look like this. And the main dashboard, I would encourage you and anybody who's checking the replay to explore the dashboard. There's a lot in here, and sometimes there's some sales, but there's a lot in here that can just get you started without overwhelming you. So these new cards, for example, are on the dashboard. And this right here, what would you like to do today? This new prompt to get you started is very nice. I know that a lot of users will overlook the dashboard altogether, and that's why I wanted to point this out to you. So if you're getting started on a group Bible study or on writing a sermon, this is a great place to just hop back in to the Logos application and get started with either one of those, for example. I know that's a couple areas that you are. And so if I click on this, just one click, then it'll say which passage would you like to study with your group. And I'll just say Genesis 1 through 2-3. Right. And this right here presented me with my Bible of choice.
Sure.
The study Bible of choice, and then this would be the new Bible study tool. So you could create an outline and questions for your group from right here, and you don't have to juggle multiple tools and notebooks in order to get all that in place. So I'm going to close everything with this button at the top right, and I'm going to show you again, just anybody who's watching, that is just directly from this homepage. All I did is I clicked I'd like to start a group Bible study, and that kicked off my Bible study. Okay. So I'd encourage you to check out the card here. And then if you do have questions or need a little bit more help, there's this card here to get started with that. Okay. Okay. So then next to the dashboard is the library, the book of the library of books that you have available, the search, the
Okay.
Bible, and then this is your fact book. So this is kind of like a one-stop shop for what you're looking into. And
Okay.
what a lot of people don't realize is that you can put even books of the Bible in here. So if you put
Hmm.
Genesis in here as the book of the Bible, this could really help you when you're preparing for your sermons or studies or any of that. So you could look at topics primarily in the fact book, events, really anything that you can think of. This is a great place right from your homepage to click and then to get started. Okay. So, and then next to that is your documents. So this is any and all files that you've created inside of Logos. So what's neat about this is that group Bible study that we just started on the fly. That those notes would come in here. Anything that we've highlighted, any notes that we've created across the application, all of that would be under documents. And a quick tip for you or for anybody is you don't necessarily have to create them. There's actually a lot in public here
Hmm.
that you could take a look at and browse. You could browse what other users have shared um, with with the Logos community, and so you could look at here's reading plans, here's a collection of books, here's
Hmm.
let's see what else we have, passage lists. So if I click on passage list, looks like someone created a passage list for Tulip. There's a passage list
Wow.
on the lists of apostles. So you could actually do a search of this if you wanted to. If I was looking for public documents that are passage lists on apostle, just general word apostle here. But you can create, you can take these shared documents that the community has shared with the other Logos users, and you can actually add this to your own library. So you can I just did a right click right here and I could click add to my docs and then it would appear in my search and in my documents. So lots of good stuff inside of the documents, especially in the public section here. Okay. So
So
that,
public comes,
go ahead.
I said the public comes under documents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
You
you
click,
can browse your documents or you can
okay.
browse Faith Life groups if you're familiar with the Faith Life groups. Or you could browse just documents that are shared with the public here. All right. But this is an area, the next two is where I really wanted to point your attention today, is the workflows and guides. So
Hmm.
this is one of those areas where if you know on Sunday you're preaching on a particular book or topic or something, you could jump a book especially. So if you know
Hmm.
that you're preaching on what's your upcoming sermon, do you know by chance, Gideon?
Yes, preaching from Mark. Actually, I haven't looked at the boundaries. I think I'm doing that tomorrow.
Okay.
So we just preached Mark chapter number 12, it's, 28 to 34.
Okay. So you could do 12, 28 to 34.
Yes.
So it looks like it's nested right in here. Okay. So you could, if this is your particular passage, and
Yes.
you started with this tool, which is in the guides and workflows section called the
Hmm.
expository sermon. This is just an example. But if you were preaching on this particular passage, I put the passage in and then I just click enter. Okay.
Hmm.
So this gives you, in this case, the preacher, an outline from top to bottom, step
Hmm.
by step, to get to know this
Sure.
passage. And then to
Hmm.
actually, so first you're reading and praying through it. You're studying the actual passage. You're looking at the language. You see here, original language, the literary
Hmm.
type, the boundaries of the
Hmm.
passage, biblical events, important words. So it's a step by step list for you to go through And as you go through it, it actually, if I do, let's just say, if I click continue, it's asking me to begin with prayer. So I can actually write out my prayer in response to this passage. And then I click continue. And as I do, I get a green checkbox. It actually lets me know that I'm moving through this process together. I've got 2 of 40 steps done now. And I can collect observations as I'm walking through this passage and prepare me for my sermon writing or my sermon itself. Okay, so this is
Mhm.
a step-by-step list that asks you to pray through it, prepare for your research, and even you can, as you keep going, it's identifying cross-references, consulting commentaries, and it just moves you right through this passage. And you can skip any of these steps that you'd like to. So if you're just going to skip over this one and then skip over this one, you can see that it's moving me through this process. So what's nice about this tool, by the way, in my opinion, what's nice about this tool is it's going to encourage you to jump into books and tools in your Logos library that you may not be familiar with. Okay.
Mhm.
So you may not think to look at cross references. Okay. But this encourages you to pause and actually look at cross references, and then as you do, it's opening up tools like important passages for you to that you wouldn't think to go and do if you
Mhm.
weren't using this tool. You'd have to go through the tools and then find text comparison, or you'd have to go and find those tools. But this is a nice step-by-step workflow for you to do that. Okay, so I did want to mention this. I just wanted to mention this as one of those features or one of those tools that might be nice for you to explore and see if it would work with your weekly prep, like especially for sermons. But let me zoom out for 1 second, because it would be worth mentioning that if this workflow is too much for you, or if it doesn't fit you in the way that you prepare, you can actually create your own from scratch. So there's a button at the bottom right that says new. So I can make a new workflow from scratch right here. And if Gideon has his own process and he does prayer and then text comparison, and he's looking at other translations and he's looking at biblical backgrounds, I can create a new workflow from scratch and then work
Okay.
through it as I prepare. Okay, so I'm gonna pause for a second. Did you have any questions about that workflow?
No, I think it's excitement because some of the things you're going through under the expository, it's like, wow. And I just want to, I mean, as soon as we're done to see and if I can try it and see, because it feel like I was sitting on this. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
really excited. No much of a question, but I think I'm looking forward to familiarize myself and
Great.
enjoy it too. I hope it will help me a
Yep,
lot.
that's great.
Yeah.
If this is a tool that you use often, if this workflow is a tool that you use often, you can
Hmm.
click and drag it, and you can
Hmm.
actually save it right here at the top. So now
Wow.
I can always get to it real quick if I'd like to.
All
So
right.
just letting you know that you could also keep it there. So if you know you're going to be opening up Logos and you'd like to get there quick, then you could add it to the top here. Okay. So I did want to
Sure.
mention that too. The tool that I just showed you is called the workflow. In the
Workflow. Okay.
workflow, it actually asks you to engage with the application. So you're reflecting, you're writing notes, you're opening more tools, opening more
Hmm.
resources, you're checking your list as you walk through the 40 steps in this case. The
Hmm.
passage guide is a little different in that you could open the same Mark 12. It was 23.
28 to 34.
There you go. So you could open the same pericope or passage in this case in
Hmm.
Mark. Uh oh. I'm just going to go and try that again. Mark 12. I'm sorry. It was Mark 12, right?
Yeah. 28 to 34.
Thank you. 28 to 34. Okay, so I could open the same passage of scripture here, but in this case, wherever Gideon wants to go with it, that's where we go. So there isn't a step-by-step 1 through 40 list, but you do have available important commentaries, journals, passages, atlas, so you could open your atlas. There's a lot of information here in the guide section, but this isn't necessarily a step-by-step walkthrough to kind of like hold your hand and allow you to work through the passage in the same way. So the guides and workflows are two that I wanted to point you to, and those are in this section here with the little compass. Okay.
That's very helpful.
And then the other area that I had mentioned before we got rolling was the layouts section. So if you could right now take all the books that are on your desk and just put them into a box, and then when you're ready to do that sermon prep again, open that box and put everything back to where it was with the same pages, the same notes, the same everything, the same books in all the same places. That is what layouts does, really. So this is called, this right here at the top right, this is layouts. And just a moment ago, we were working on a group Bible study. And we clicked that we'd like to create a group Bible study, and then it opened everything up. And actually, the application took a screenshot of that. It took a snapshot of that, and I just clicked a button and I opened it all up again. Okay, so it's still in the history. It's still in the background, and I can go back and open the application to whenever I need to. I can also save that layout. So if I have my Bible open, I have my study Bible open, and I have my Bible study notes open, I can jump up in here and I can save this as a layout that I can quickly get to in the future. Okay. So I just wanted to mention that you can use layouts to keep track of and organize your resources, and then quickly get into them again in the future. Logos also has a lot of predefined, they're already created for you layouts. And so if there were any, like a Greek word study, for example, this is a suggested layout for that. So you have a dictionary, your English translation, and then you have the Bible word study that opens real large on the left side for you to dig in. Okay. So I'm going to close that out and just mention the layouts button is right here. And then any of these layouts, I actually have one saved right here to my desktop because I use it often. And then the daily reading is also a layout that I have saved right here. I have a loaf of bread as the icon, just as like daily bread. But I have my own daily reading here also, just saved in the top dashboard because those are ones that I use often. So I wanted to mention that. I have one more thing that I wanted to share, but I wanted to see if you have any questions about layouts.
No, I think for me, the next thing is I need to get to the computer and exactly go through the things you've taught me. So I guess if I'm going to question, I'll send you an email or something. But otherwise,
that's totally fine.
My question is, where were you all these years?
Okay, I was right here.
Yeah.
So the one more thing that I wanted to mention, and this is good for you or anybody watching the replay that is not familiar with this, would be we talked about these different guides and we talked about the different workflows. One of the guides is called a counseling guide, and I know that you said you prepare sermons, you prepare devotions for groups, and then you also are doing counseling. And so if you are working with someone, looks like here's just, you could do topical here. There's a few suggestions as well. Guilt, anxiety, burnout. So if I type in guilt, okay, it will look at it using your library. It will look at the term guilt from the angle of counseling, really. And so I'm going to close these down so you can look at the different sections here. You have the topic, which allows you to pull from your counseling tagged resources. Guilt from the quick reference guide to biblical counseling. So it will suggest that you take a look at guilt from your counseling resources. Related counseling topics. So sometimes guilt is also associated with anger, decision making, failure, forgiveness, gossip, habits, lying. So you could also jump into additional topics that are aligned with that. And then there's passages of scripture that may be helpful for you to visit, maybe before a session with someone. And so there's a passage list as well. And then it goes on, but there is counseling guide that's within the guides section. And then I wanted to mention, I want to try this and see what happens here. I wonder if I type guilt in the fact book. Just curious what happens. Okay, so the fact book is right here as well. This wouldn't have the same emphasis on counseling, but it would give you a biblical overview of say the theme of guilt. So you could look there as well.
Wow.
Okay, and that's what I think is cool about what we've done in this session is that we didn't even get into search, which search can be overwhelming. And we also did not get into just this long list of available tools. What I did with you is I said, what like practical ways or tools can I give you that will expose other areas of Logos without having to shop this big list of different tools, or pushing something like search, which search is, we could spend an hour on search alone. But what I did was give you a practical framework for like preparing sermons or devotions or preparing for counseling sessions. Okay. Do you have any questions before I wrap up?
No, it's so helpful. I feel like what you've done is you've given me the tools. I mean, it's like I need to go and familiarize myself. It's not enough just to know that those things are there, but I think I need to start going there and explore. And I think, if anything, more questions will come out of that when I'm experiencing how to use the tool itself. But otherwise, I'm so grateful, and you have no idea. For me, this is the Lord Himself who wants me to use this tool. I have it on my laptop, but I haven't used it much. So looking forward to diving in and benefit from the tool.
Great. That's great, Gideon. I hope that this time is encouraging to you and then to anybody else who catches the replay. If you do have questions, if someone's watching the replay and has questions, you can drop them and ask them in the comments, and I'll be happy to answer them as soon as I can. If there's a topic that you'd like to have me explore further, drop a question in the comments. Gideon, don't be afraid to email me. I'd be happy to answer any questions. So yeah, I appreciate the time that we took together. I hope that it did exactly what I said at the beginning. I hope that it made you a little less scared to explore it, and then click a couple buttons and try it out.
Actually, it's like you just removed the curtain and I'm seeing inside the tool. I'm saying, I didn't know it was here. So I'm very appreciative, encouraged. As I said earlier on, it was like I was sitting on treasure, but had no idea. So thank you so much. I think this has opened the way. I hope to get and benefit more from it.
That's awesome, Gideon. Thank you. And thanks for the work that you're doing for the church. And I pray that you stay encouraged. So keep it up. I'll wrap this up. If you or anybody has any questions, don't be afraid to reach out in the comments or email or any way that works for you. So thanks so much, Gideon, and anybody who catches the replay. Thank you.
Thanks.